2023 to our weekly webinars, Stopping the Violence in America. Our whole focus has been, how do we begin to curb the violence that is plaguing America today? What angles, what preventions, what post type of programs that are so needed in such a time like this? As you know, that every time we pick up the newspaper, look at the internet, or look at your news, you're hearing some sort of gun violence, some sort of violence that is just plaguing all of our communities in America. So we have been looking at all of the different areas of how do we begin to stop the violence? How do we begin to be a catalyst, or you out there who have all of these great programs help be a catalyst to reduce the violence in America? And what are the best practices? So we're so happy because we've had so many extraordinary people from the police department or law enforcement, political leaders, social leaders, spiritual leaders, all coming on and sharing their hopes and strengths that they have been utilizing in order to curb the violence in their communities and in America at large. Today, we have a special guest again, a wonderful brother, Marion Tiny Frampton, who is the CEO and founder of the not-for-profit organization, TBS New Direction, best known as Tiny in the early 70s. Tiny was one of the leaders of an infamous gang called the Black Spades in the late 70s. Tiny became a leader of a legendary Casanova crew, the Casanova crew, which became a hip-hop's first organized security team. Tiny was born in Manhattan, where he spent his early years avoiding gang life. One day, while delivering the Sunday newspaper, he was shot and robbed. After a long recovery, his family relocated him to South Bronx, moving into the Mott Haven projects while living in Mott Haven projects. Tiny was drafted into a group called the Black Spades. The group had a mission. It was to rid the streets of crime and drugs in their community. Since Tiny was very outspoken, he was elected president of the 14th chapter, a division within the Black Spades in the Bronx, which looked over Mott Haven houses. Because of his ability to communicate with others, Tiny soon became the spokesman for the 17th Division Black Spade, a supreme division, making him supreme spokesman of the South Bronx of Spades. Tiny became well known for his resolving conflicts in 1970 between different groups. In the 1970s, after the untimely death of a valuable friend, Spade comrade, and his ability to deal with conflict, was chosen to lead one of the most powerful and most elite security groups in South Bronx, the Casanova Group. Today, Frampton is in the business world and is fighting different wars. He is the CEO, founder of Black Spade Security Service, CEO, founder of TBS New Direction, Inc., a nonprofit organization. So without any further ado, we would like to invite Mr. Frampton. In conflict resolution, words are more powerful than guns. Marion, Mr. Frampton, welcome to our stage. We'd like to hear your hopes and strengths and how you have been an integral part in reducing crime in your communities in Manhattan and in Bronx. Thank you. Welcome.
Well, thank you, everyone. Thank you for having me. Just to give you a little bit more brief history of myself, like I said, being born in Manhattan, raised blue in half in Manhattan, half in, that word more powerful than guns. That, my mother, who was she wasn't single, but basically single a lot of times, she would always tell us, words are powerful. Guns will take lives, but words will hold people together. And this is why she brought me up to believe that words were powerful. And she always had me out there just speaking and talking, you understand, instead of fighting. You know, growing up in
Oh,
South,
Mr. Frampton, Brother Frampton,
yes, sir.
we might have to go to the phone as we have said. Nadia, maybe we can, because you're still going in and out. I don't think everybody's catching every word you're saying. Is that correct out there in the audience? They're not catching every word you're saying, and you have some very important things, especially the first part was powerful.
Okay. Okay. That's what Nadia.
Okay, can you go ahead and speak?
Okay. I was stating before, you know, being born in Harlem and raised in my early childhood, I was raised by my mother. She was married, but we spent a lot of our time for ourselves. I had six sisters and there's three boys. My mother always taught us that words was more powerful. My mother wasn't an educated woman, but she was a godly woman. And she always wanted to keep her children safe and keep us. And she always had us believe that words were more powerful than anything, than guns or anything. And as long as people can come together, there was always hope. There was always a chance that we can live together. This is why I believe that words are more powerful than guns. You know, when I became a member of the Black Spades in the South Bronx, I'd like you guys to understand, the Black Spades is one of the largest street organizations in the Bronx. We wasn't considered a gang when they started. We started as an organization trying to rid our communities of drugs and all that other and all the other crimes and little petty crimes that was going on at the time, snatching bag, burglary, you know, and somewhere along the line we grew, our numbers grew, and the police department and people just started considering us a gang. But we kept law and order in our neighborhood, you know, because anything that took place in our neighborhood, we made sure that we was a part of, and we tried to keep that crime out of our neighborhood. The same thing I'm trying to do today. I'm trying to get our kids, trying to get our young brothers and sisters to understand that where you live is where you should represent. And how you represent and how you speak is what you will show others around. You know, and we have a truly a mess going on in our neighborhoods today, because we're trying, like you said, we're trying to find ways to bring our communities together. And this is what I'm doing as well today, trying to bring our communities together. You know, we're hosting public safety dinners throughout the Bronx, where we bring clergy, politicians, police department, you understand, former gang member, present day gang members. We bring them together because I believe that what we call OGs are the ones that need to be out on these streets speaking to these kids. You know, we're old, but there's nothing wrong with our conversation. There's nothing wrong with us out there speaking to our kids along with the parents and everybody else, but, you know, trying to make a difference. And this is how TBS was created, because I caused a lot of havoc in my life. And I figured in order to understand, to give back, then I needed to give back in the same name that I helped fight against in a negative way. It's the same way I'm going to fight for in a positive way, the Black Spades, because we were one of the largest, you Google it, we were one of the largest gangs in the city of New York during the 70s. And this is my mission today, to go out there and make a difference. And like I said, we got a lot of problems, because how do we bring our communities together? It's not easy. Lack of programs, lack of jobs, lack of skills. You understand? We have to bring a lot of these things back. You understand? Especially the programs. You understand? When I was growing up, we had programs in the schools, the wood shop, the metal shop, the car shop. You understand? Home economics. We have none of these things today. We don't have community centers. We build 1 or 2 centers in the different neighborhoods, but then people don't understand that our youth go in every neighborhood. We have to start bringing back things in our neighborhoods where our kids can be in their neighborhoods. Because how do we fight the and the gangs? When the first thing our kids see when they come is the gangs, and the last thing our children see when they go home at night is gangs and the drugs. They're not seeing anything that's really positive. And if they do, they have to go to another neighborhood, which some of them have to fight to come out of. So today we're trying to make a difference. I not only work in parts of the Bronx, because the Black space was large, I have a lot of different brothers that I can reach out to and go to different neighborhoods. We put boots on the ground all around the Bronx. And this is what we do. We're trying to neighborhoods, trying to set up with different churches, you know, and different agencies to see what we can do to help the kids within their neighborhoods. Because like I said, a lot of the kids can't even travel from one neighborhood to another neighborhood, you know, and it's kind of crazy because they don't even understand the concept of why they're being run out of a neighborhood because they live in a neighborhood, a different neighborhood. But this is what we're battling today. We're battling fighting kids because they live 4 blocks away, or they live in one building in the same complex, buildings against buildings. And this is what we're trying to do today, just make a difference and help our kids understand that life is beautiful. Oh, listen, it took me a long time to learn that how beautiful life is. But you know what though? We're trying to teach them at a younger age where they don't have to, you understand, die, where they don't have to be mean, you understand, before they understand the beauty of life. And this is what we're trying to do. Black space security is created because a lot of our kids who've been arrested, they are still capable of holding security jobs. I still have a little bit more work to do as far as paperwork, but I can get kids that get security license, we're getting them jobs. You know, they're being discriminated against because they have records. There's a lot of kids that's being discriminated against with minor records just by being arrested. We have to learn how to employ our kids. You understand? If you wouldn't give a murderer or a child molester a security job, but what about a young man with a minor drug charge or a weapon that wasn't loaded and doing nothing? These kids are entitled to have jobs. We have to create jobs that our kids can possess and have. Otherwise, we're fighting to lose the battle. So, Mr. Oliver, this is just one thing that we're doing right now. And most of the people in my organization is from the 70s. You understand? We're out here on the street. We're doing what we got to make a difference.
Yes, are you still there?
Yes, sir. Yes,
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, thank you very much for that. I think one of the essential points that I would like just to bring up is about the OGs, meaning the old timers, the old guys out there who came to some enlightenment like you and realized that life is beautiful, but still they have some wisdom to pass on to the kids, and that sometimes you are a mentor figure, or most important than a mentor figure, become a father figure. But also at the same time, you're saying that you can identify, those OGs can identify what they're going through and identify some of the behaviors, because they probably have experienced those behaviors in themselves, but they want to help them to change that because they can see a new light. And that's what our kids are missing. And you are correct that there are just no programs out there for kids. I remember we used to have after school program for gym, if you remember back in the days. And like you said, shop class, home economics, all of those things were preparing them for all sorts of different, jobs, even blue collar jobs or whatever kind of jobs, something they can do with their hands. But ultimately, some of them are probably capable of even going to college and excelling very well if they had the platforms that you had just shared that are still missing within the communities. I'd like to open up the door, open up for anyone else like to share, ask any questions about that. And then I would like to come back to you. Have you formulated the OG committee to go out there and be an intricate part in those young people's lives? Anybody else like to share? And then I'll pose that question back to you. Oh, Dr. Rosario, Bishop, welcome. You're muted.
Yes, I want to thank Tiny for coming on. Yeah, the Manhattan Project is a very important area for my life because that's where my children were brought up. And I come out of the Merrill Projects and the Patterson Projects and the Manhattan Projects. One of my first ministries when I was on 158th Street was that. How do we come together to be able to, we had a lot of gang wars at that particular time that Tiny could testify to, especially with Morris Avenue with all Italian, and there were racial barriers that were there, Blacks and Hispanic, the Royal Knights, the suicides, all these different gangs, and he hit the right spot. This has been a problem that's been going on for, I'm going to say, hundreds of years in an area where before guns were, there were knives and swords. And for the lack of love and the lack of education and jobs, the people were having a hard time. They're still having that same hard time. Tiny knows that, the 40th precinct was right on 138th Street. And we had a lot of our police officers there trying to help us come out of the streets and help us to educate ourselves. But you figure that from that day to this day, it's just gotten worse with the guns. Because at one time, people would build their own guns. Now they're trafficking guns into our neighborhoods. The gun is not the one that's really the problem. It's the people that have the gun that are misusing them. And people are being hurt all over the states and the city. I think that we need to be able to find programs that prepare a young man for better jobs, because guns are used for protection, even through gangs, one with another. And the worst part about it, that the innocent person that is in the street is going to get hurt also. But those young men that are using those guns that don't even know how to use them, they use them and take them to school because someone is being bullied. And it's very hard because I went through that when I was in high school. I think I was maybe the four or five young Hispanic young men in Fordham area that we had problems. So when you look at the disparity that we have with race, that really works into the problem that we have. The education that we need to be able to create a job where they come out of work or they come out of a school, they have a part-time job, they're not in the streets. They're making some money to be able to help their families, because a lot of families are living check to check, and probably even less than that because they can't make it, because especially in this day and age, the rents are so high. So we look at all these things. The government is putting so much money into our neighborhoods since Tiny said since the 70s to this day, and we're still in the same condition. The houses of worship, need to be able to come together a little bit more, because we are too separated. Many of our children are lost to the streets, even that they are brought up in the churches. As we take a look at our own teachings, some of our own young men and young women are falling into drugs. and falling into that particular environment. And it's hard to, I always take a look at my own first. I look into my house first. How do I help? What can I do? What more can a teacher do? What more can a police officer do? What more can a pastor do? And, you know, to Tiny's things, he's going around trying to get all the houses of worship to open up their doors, to create dinners in the houses of worship, not into one particular house of worship, but to all. And we have so many of them in the Bronx. But like, we don't come together to heal the problem, to bring those families. And we say, let's bring the family in, instead of saying, let's bring the children in. And we bring the whole family and sit them by, and we have a conversation with a dinner. And maybe even find a way to give them a job. Like right now, even where I'm out at Co-op City, we have programs that we bring in, summer program, for instance. At one time, we would just hire the children that were in Co-op City, but we would isolate the children in the valley, which is 3 blocks away. So they couldn't get a job here. So now the new board director, we found that in order for us to create peace between the valley and Co-op City, we got to bring those children together. So what we done was that we brought the parents in and everyone, and we are creating jobs that they're going to have summer jobs from the valley and Co-op City. So instead of them fighting each other, they get to know each other. And it's the same thing with what ACLC does, bringing together the clergy so that we could sit together at a table from every denomination, no matter who we are, what we may think, and we could talk. I think, you know, with all due respect, we need to be able to do that and bring their children together and have something that their children from every denomination and every area could sit down. And then we could try to find out how we are going to create jobs like what Tiny is doing. There's a couple other organizations that Tiny could also bring in, and we could all talk and become one power to be able to heal our communities, because not one organization or not one person could do it alone, but we could all do it together. And Tiny, you know, I'm very proud of what he continues to do, and we are all family. And I think that, you know, Reverend Alba, what God has put into your spirit, and Reverend Galvan, Reverend Jenkins, to be able to do something like this, and it's amazing that you're not trying to just do it in the Bronx, because we see that the problem is all over. You know, the problem is in England, the problem is in Africa, the problem is in Puerto Rico. And when we come to the melting pot, New York, then we all come from all different places. I think that this is a victory that we have, and with the help of each other and Tiny's help, I'm suffering a lot because I've been watching our young ladies really, really being hurt and being disrespected, and they need so much help, you know, Blacks and Hispanics and things. And we need to be able to promote the protection. And that's one of the things that Tiny and his group was doing in the Manhattan and the Patterson. They would protect our young ladies and our mothers. And that was more important than anything else, because if we protect our young ladies, we protect the mothers that are the protectors of the home, we could change communities. But the only way that we could do it is if we come together. You know, there's so much to be able to say about this subject. And I want to thank you, Tiny, for coming on and for what you continuously do. And I pray and ask the Lord that gives us the idea and the wisdom and the knowledge for us to be more than just meetings, that we could push this agenda to be able to heal. We may not save the whole world, but I guarantee you that we could save a lot of people and create jobs that could help our young men and young women to stay off the street. Idle hands are the tools of the devil. So again, thank you for this wonderful program that you continually do. Thank you.
So much, Bishop. for your profound words. I want to thank you very much. I want to just say also what he said too. Words are more powerful than the guns, and that's a very, very. It's something, and it's what words do. Also, words is what makes people pick up guns because the fact the word is so powerful, they get angry and out of hand. But I just want to thank you very much. Reverend Jenkins is on. Welcome, Reverend Jenkins. You would like to say a couple words? Thank you again, Bishop, for what you shared with us.
Thank you. Thank you, Reverend Oliver, again for another important program. Marion, Tiny Frampton, God bless you. We want to work together. Bishop Rosario and Reverend Galvan, I'd like to set up a meeting that we could have in the Bronx to pursue this more. How can we help with the clergy? How can we come together to support every aspect of what's needed? Because I see the sincerity and the commitment. Thank you very much, Reverend Oliver. God bless you.
Oh, thank you, Reverend Jenkins. Anyone else? I would like also to say that I understand what you jog my memory, Mariam, when you were sharing about the projects. Even one project becomes the enemy of the next project. Actually, I'm from the 60s. I lived in the South Bronx in the 60s. I watched them build St. Mary's projects across the street from St. Mary's Park, over in Eagle Avenue and Codwell Avenue, back in those days. And as you're right, it wasn't a gunfight; it was a knife fight, or you break a bottle and you have a fight. But we've escalated into more viciousness with one another. So I can catch while you were talking how those things have manifested and how they're getting worse. Anybody else would like to share something? Galvan, Reverend Galvan, I see you here.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Brother Oliver. Dr. Frampton, that was wonderful that you introduced to us your life-saving work. That's fantastic. And the way you put it was really down to earth, starting with your own childhood experience. And that was really good. I just wonder, could you say something about, Dr. Frampton, about your conversation? I mean, the words of some, we have such a vast audience here that's listening, and we can take this and we can really, in a sense, model a conversation. I mean, in psychology, they talk about, the unconditional promising love and with positive regard. You've done something that has really changed people's lives. And if you could just say something, because I know that you and Bishop Rosario have a very close relationship, and I can see the similarity in the ministry of both of you. Could you say something, please?
No, I like to say this though. One of the things, when I say like words are powerful, words can instruction and words can be used for life. And this is what we must teach our kids. One of the things we do today, like Bishop Rosario just said, we host formal public safety dinners. And what makes these dinners so special is that they're hosted by former gang members. They're not hosted by politicians. They're not hosted by clergy. They're not hosted by the police department. They're hosted by former gang members. And we bring each and every one of these organizations table. Our next meeting will be on April 14th at the Bronx River Housing. And Brother Oliver, Mary, I'm right down the block from you. And so those were my stomping grounds when I grew up. So, we're not too far. But to get back to the public safety dinners, I deal with every community in the Bronx, the Yemen, the Bangladesh, the Mexicans, the Jewish community, because this problem is not just, it's just not a black problem, it's a people's problem. And it's spreading all over. So I bring these public safety dinners, former gang members bring these people to the table. And on the 14th of April in Bronx River, we will have our local politicians from that district, the police department, our clergy, and we know the problem. How do we talk about the solutions? But also at these dinners, I will also have programs that bring children in. Not only train them for 6 months, train them to give them a 6-month job and let them go, but place them. You understand, with solar panels, Job Corps, which is a forgotten program. Job Corps been over for 8 years, and they house, they train them. They put them in the field of their training and give them money, and they stick with them. That program has been long forgotten, but I now bring them to my dinners and I bring them to the table with, and I have had some people to reach out to them to put their children. Our children, our children don't want to be on the street. Regardless of what people do, nothing, you would be surprised how many of our kids don't think that. I do public speaking in school. And when I do the school public speaking, I don't speak. I started off with the kids. How many like the community? How many like where you live? Too many hands raised. I love my community and I love where I live. A lot of our young brothers and sisters want to have to get them, but they have to deal. We as a people have to stand together and stand up again. When we have these dinners, and when whoever come out from community affairs, or we had the police captains from the 43rd, the 47th, the 52nd, they came out. And I had them come up and stand there. No. You see, be white, I'm black. There was a time there was a time when I didn't like white people. But God has allowed me to live and learn. And I've learned that life is not just about black and white. It's about people learning to live together. So these public dinners that I host throughout the Bronx, I'm going to host my first dinner in Harlem on May 12th. I just got a place in May 12th, and it's to bring people together. And the thing about it is that we can come together every day, but if we don't bring some a concrete solution to the table for our kids, or programs for our kids, then we lost. And Reverend Oliver, when you were saying about the OGs, I bring out the young gays. I have a lot of Bloods and Crips that come to my organization to sit down, but I try to bring out the OGs because I started a program that's called Kids Look in the Mirror. Who do they see? They don't see themselves. They see their fathers. For those of you who are around, who are out there gang banging, for those of you who are out there who selling drugs, I know my son seen me. That's why my son got 30 years, because he tried to imitate. And it was because of my son I started this program. You understand? At United Christian Baptist Church, we have the young men coming in who wants to come in there because they're getting started. It's doing pretty good. We got about 7, 8 men, but if that's have to take for it to build, then so shall it be. But who do your kids see? They see those who they want to be like. And are we setting the right example? They see those who their mothers take them up to prison to see them. And they think prison is a good life. It's not a good life. The street's not a good life. We try to teach these young men only because God has allowed me to live. Not that I know this part, not that I know so much, because I don't know anything, but God has allowed me to live and see the difference, you understand, of my strength. And if I'd have knew what I knew back then maybe it would have been different, but I didn't know. So this is what we're trying to do. Our public safety dinners and our program for reflection this is what we do. We try, but like Reverend Allen said, the difference starts with the OGs. And I'm trying to go to the different areas where I used to have my spade comrades, because in these areas, we can reach out to the kids because they live in these areas. I just can't go into a neighborhood. I have to call up the people that I know or get them to get me in there. And once I get in and once I start running my mouth, I'm in. I don't need you no more because I'll make a difference. And the difference is you who you are and treating you like a human being. I'll public safety, our kids don't like police, but I let them know all black and brown people are not criminals and all police are not bad. You understand? You understand? This is what we're being taught in the street, but we have to be able to teach this in our houses of worship. And Bishop Rosario and my pastor, Pastor Reggie, those are my two pastors, but they hear me all the time. We have to get back in our house of worship. When I grew up, the house of worship was the first line of defense, not the police department. My mother would call a pastor on us in a minute. He'd be up there in a minute praying on us and telling us about her. We were scared of him telling us about the devil. Now we can't even talk. We can't even talk to our pastors the way we used to. They don't come out. And they don't even open their doors unless there's money involved. And I'm sorry, it's what it is. We got so many houses of worship, just in the Bronx alone. So I'm gonna say, let's say you got 100, which is much more than that. But what, out of 100, only 40 of them open? We got to open our doors. We got to let out, and we got to have after school programs, because the churches in my neighborhood, and Reverend Oliver, you say you watch St. Mary's being built, then you know we had St. Mary's projects. Before Patanzas projects, we had Mitchell, we had Mount Haven, we had all these community centers. Even if we was going to a gang fight, we meet up in the center. And by the time the center, not that today. Our kids don't have alternatives. And they have nothing but to see, but the drug dealers and the gangbangers before they get to see us. And this is what we have to do. We have to provide something in the neighborhoods that will attract our kids' potential. What about the open schools? And there's grants. When we have these public safety dinners, we're telling them there's grants you can reach out for that will help you keep your doors open. Even in small churches, there's grants that these kids can come in for after school. Our kids want it. They're not going to ask for it, but if they see it, they will go to it. But if you don't show them that it's there, then they'll never ask you for it. And this is what we do. Our public safety dinners are very important, and we bring community together. And like I say, we know the problems, but we need to talk. And one of the things is unity, to bridge that gap between our community and police department. Internet and YouTube and all that is good, but show this generation today how the world really looks. And it's an ugly world. But not everybody in it is ugly. And this is what we have to teach our kids, that not everybody, black, all, and all, stand with the Jewish community. And like I said, I stand with all the different communities in the Bronx. And last year we did a march. We had everybody out there. I want to do another clergy march. And this is gang members. These are former gang members putting these organizations together. These are former gang members trying to do this so that we could make a difference. And this is what I do, sir. This is what I do.
Wow, thank you very much. That's very powerful. I would like, thank you very much, Tiny. You're batting 100 right here. Dr. Madeline, welcome. I'd like to hear your voice. And then after that, Reverend Franklin.
Oh, greetings, one and all. Thank you again, Reverend Oliver, for sharing this platform. Every week, it just has a great dynamic. Minister Tiny, I want to thank you for your work and commend you that you have the tenacity to keep moving forward until you achieve your expected outcome. When I think about the OGs and the gang members, I like to say that they're strapped. And what I mean by strapped is they have survived trauma, rejection, and abandonment and the pitfalls. So they have the experience to come back and share and lift those young people up. A lot of times when we approach young people, if we don't have a testimony, a story to tell of what we experienced, they don't want to hear it. But by you guys being able to come together collectively and talk about what you've been through and share your youth of what it looked like at that particular time, and to say, yes, we experienced that, but you don't have to experience it. So I thank you and I appreciate you for building that bridge somewhat. And it's a project for all of us to get involved in our communities as well, but to build that bridge from the negative, what was, over to the positive of things that can become. So again, I thank you and commend you for the work that you're doing.
Thank you, Dr. Madeline. Thank you for
Thank
those
you.
words. Go ahead, Reverend Franklin.
Yeah, thank you so much. I really appreciate Reverend Oliver and Dr. Jenkins and everybody here who are working and participating in this conversation. And Mr. Frampton, I am so inspired by you. I am so inspired by your perseverance. I'm inspired how you are glorifying God in your own unique, special way. Because what you have been able to do is to be able to transform misery into victory. And God bless you for that. Because what is being done is you're creating a forever positive impression in the hearts of young men and women in your neighborhood who people you are touching. They will use that as references for the rest of their lives, indicating that there was somebody out there inspired by God who cared about me, who loved me. And that's something that will leave an everlasting legacy. In the process of doing this, what you were able to do is just have simple dialogue among people, among friends and peers who said enough is enough. And and I'm just thinking that the whole idea of us recognizing the fact that God has played a direct intervention in your life is manifested in the fact that you saw a situation and you took the initiative and you took responsibility, and look what has happened. The fruits of that. The fruits of that is that it germinated into constructive programs that's going to create marketable skills. And I'm just thinking, I had a really good conversation with a good friend of mine, and he brought me to this point that the government subsidizes $5.9 trillion. The oil companies in America are being subsidized by our government to the tune of $5.9 trillion. Do the oil companies really need those type of subsidies? And I'm saying this is what you're doing, and also the Rosarios, Bishop Rosarios, and what all some of you here are doing, that just think, what kind of transformation can occur within our system today? And so my hope and my prayer is that you keep on doing and fighting the good fight, because God is going to recognize that. God is going to acknowledge you. God is a just God. And just keep on doing what you're doing. God bless you. Thank you so much.
Is he still on, or did he fall off?
Oh,
Nadia?
he just told me that he'll get back in here,
Oh, okay, all right.
but he did fall off for just a sec.
Yeah, I just
No
saw.
problem.
Okay, thank you very
Almost
much.
back.
Yeah.
Play by play here.
All right. Do I have to go back and repeat what I had to say?
No,
Well,
he
Franklin wants to know if he needs to repeat it.
no, he fell off
Oh, he
at your end point with your end.
right.
He was on ever since then. Yeah. And he
All
was
right.
on for the whole thing. Except
Oh.
just as you ended, he
Oh.
fell off.
Whoa, okay.
Oh, what? Oh, that's crazy.
I hope I didn't I hope I wasn't too overwinded, but I just felt just to share these things, to Mr. Frampton, it was from my heart. So I just felt inspired to share that. Thank you.
Yes. Okay. Did he come back on?
No, not yet. It's not on yet.
Right.
Oh, okay.
We're
Yeah.
working on it.
Yeah. So I think that a lot of things that he said were very powerful. Especially I like what he said. What do they see? And I think that should be even a more focal point. In Reverend Bishop Rosario said, what did he see? He said, I see your father. So what he's saying, that the role models are not there. And when those kids look at their situation, what they're seeing is a reflection of their fathers happening in their own lives. And I like what Bishop Rosario said. He said, instead of bringing the kids to the table of discussion or healing, let's bring the whole family, whether it's a one mother, but just bring the whole family into the arena of discussion. So I caught that when he said that. I thought that was a very, very, very powerful point, because many times some of the issues that are plaguing them are within the construct of that particular family. Your siblings, your mom, your dad, or whatever, and then they're out there. So what putting the family into the arena together begins to heal the family, then you can begin to really heal more substantially the individual and ultimately the community. Anybody else like to share something as our brother is trying to get back on, if we can?
Yeah, Reverend Oliver, you were saying that Tiny was saying words are more important than guns and knives, but it's the right words. With the right words, God said, let there be the heavens and the earth, and he created everything with the words. And words are very powerful, but it depends how we use them correctly, because we could have the wrong words and bring an emotional imbalance to the people. For instance, when I'm gonna use my wife. She's sitting right next to me. I had to make sure that I had the right words to make sure that she falls in love with me. So I couldn't tell her just anything. I had to have the right words, and there must have been a lot of other young men, trying also, because she's beautiful, she's pretty. So they wanted to say the right word, but they didn't have the right words. God gave me the right words, so I could that so she could be mine. So what I'm saying with that is the right word that we need to be able to bring to our young men and young women and the parents, because there are a lot of broken parents. They don't mean to be broken, but this is the way life is. That we need, you know, I guess I use the word prayer, that God will give me the right words so that I may be able to enhance their life. Because what helped me was a Taino man in the South Bronx that told me a simple word. And I didn't know too much about God. He said to me and looked me straight in the eye with his green eyes, and he was brown skin, you know, with black hair. And he looked at me and said, Jesus loves you. But when he said it, something came out of him that was put in such a nice context that I looked at him and I couldn't respond, and he walked away. 6 months later, that kept working in my life. So words are very important. And we developed also another concept that we would go to the schools with Sheikh Drama Musa and a couple of other clergy, and we would stand there together as individuals with different faith and looking the way we are and talk to the young people and bring them the word, not a religious word, because everything is religion. And if religion was to save the world, this world would be a paradise. But God is more than that. So, you know, so I think that, you know, that these are things that we need to be able to do. And the reason that I guess I'm very close to Tiny and the other people that we do the work is because they come out of my neighborhood. And that neighborhood is still infected in the same way. Like you said, the St. Mary's Project, Jackson Projects, right up the block. Bullets were flying through my ears because I was a gang leader. So God, in his mercy, saved me and saved the president of the gang, that is Reverend Gene Diaz also. So, you know, we were broken actually, but we wanted to help our neighborhood. But here we are today, 60 years later, trying to continue to heal our neighborhood, not seeing black or white or brown, just seeing the human race and seeing that our children need our help. And there's so much that we could say. Again, family to me is highly important. That one parent, and 90% of the time, is a mother with 2 or 3 children, that she needs the help to be able to help those young men, those young kings and those young queens to be able to develop. And I think that's our job. And that's why, you know, I really feel so blessed with this, and we're continuous having these meetings with different organizations, and we're gonna bring those other organizations in. So maybe we could do a travel to Pennsylvania, because I have a place out in Pennsylvania. We could do it in Boston, and bring them together to show that we are all the same, and we need this help all over our communities. And the churches, they could create programs, that there are unions that are willing to come into the house of worship and create programs for plastering and painting. That's good money that they get paid. So once we train them, they employ them. So we are able to, you know, have those connections. That I'll give you some telephone numbers and some people that we could talk to, where we could bring them. And they're all over the cities. They're all over here in Pennsylvania. They're in Maryland, because they're unions. So all these programs are there. And then after we get them into the program, we pray, you know, because we get him a good, decent job. You know, a bricklayer makes a lot of money. He makes $55 an hour. You know what I'm saying? So our young men and our young women from there, let's say they learned that, and now they could go to college and put up a business because they have the experience. So we could graduate, you know, from one place to another. And then when they find them all each other working, black, white, yellow, pink, whatever color you think you are, we make one beautiful human race that is able to heal our community. So I don't want to keep talking, but I you know, I'm old, so I got a lot to say. So peace and blessings be to all you, and may the resurrection of our Creator, Jesus the Christ, be upon you and your family. May he resurrect these ideas, these principles that are more than religion and denomination. This is his will for the human race, and that we could make changes. So again, Reverend Oliver, may the Lord protect you, give you more favor, in what you're doing for the glory and honor of our communities. God bless. Thank you.
And Reverend Oliver, we lost your sound, but Tiny's with us by my cell phone.
Great. Tiny, you still there as we come into closing?
Yes, sir, I'm still here.
Oh, yeah, you sound great. Well, thank you. I would just like to say a few words and then see if you would like to say some closing. I would like to say that we'll really appreciate what you said about, I love that OG period, and we need to discuss that, you know. I was thinking, you know, we got to go out there and not be afraid of our own kids, you know, and move and sacrifice, because that's what they're looking for. You know, if they take you out, they just have to take you out. At least you were a martyr, a sacrifice, and that might change the paradigm. So we're gonna do something, Bishop Rosario. When I think after May, I've already asked Reverend Jenkins, you know, we should do a national conference and then, you know, move different places like that, because we have a plethora of people who came on, if we brought each other together. I know, and it's interesting, once we come together with these logistical programs that we can put them in, I saw also, as soon as we put them in, we get on our knees and we pray. We pray hard, you know, for the real paradigm shift. You know, I saw that just before you said it, and I totally agree. Reverend Frampton, you know, Bishop, you know, my father used to work for, used to be the director of the Bronx River Communities, Housing Community Center back in the late 60s, back in those days. So when you mentioned the Bronx River housing, that brought back some real deep memories. Anything that you would like to say in closing?
What I would like to say is that I don't know, you know, I know everybody's from different areas, different locations. Anyone who would like to be a part of our public safety dinner, which will be in, because this is also one of the birthplace besides Soundview, Bronxdale. This is the birthplace of the spades. But not only that, we're hosting our public safety dinner. I would like you guys to come out, see what we are. You can, you know, introduce yourself to me when you come there. I'll get you to speak if you want to speak. But come out, because one thing we need to do in order to bridge the gap between the communities and also to work with our kids, we got to start bringing people to the table, like I said, the OGs. And the reason why I go after the gang members, because who's more better equipped than the old gang members? Right now, I got the Ghetto Brothers. I got United We Stand. I got Zulu Nation. I got different organizations standing with me, allowing me to lead them because of the work that I have done. But see, I might lead them, but they don't know. They just as powerful as I am, and I need them even more, because we have to show the diversity of how we coming out. And right now, the different cultures or the different cultures that's coming to the Bronx, the Yemens, the Bangladesh, the Africans, they're starting to go through what we're going through. Their kids are starting to be Americanized. They're starting to lose their culture of African, lose their culture of Yemen, Bangladesh. And we're not trying to start a gang war between cultures, so we're starting right now, put our boots on the ground now and get in the mix so that we won't have all these multiple divisions of different cultures fighting each other. But everybody's trying to fit in. So we definitely have to put our boots on the ground, and any one of you guys who would love to have our dinner, and Bishop Rosario can get y'all our flyers, or I can send my flyers to the young lady and she can send it to you guys for our public safety dinners. I would, and you know, think about hosting a dinner yourself. Think about bringing all these different organizations together. I don't know if they can all come to the Bronx or all come to Manhattan, but how you can set it up to where everybody can come together and talk face to face. Because there's, like I say, words are powerful. Guns take lives, words can save lives and make lives. And when people sit down and talk together, pray together, and eat together, you'd be amazed on what we can do. Thank you.
I agree.
And I thank you guys for having me.
Yeah, thank you so much. Those are very powerful words. Yeah, so you send the flyer to Nadia. If I'm around, I would definitely come. I'm not in the country, still not in the country, but I will definitely come. And we will. I think we're going to collaborate. That's what I said. Well, after May, I think we have a lot of different projects. After May, we can even come there as well, do something. We can host where we can bring all those people, because what you're doing, as you said, can interface with others who are doing similar things or something different you can pick up from each other. And we can not only heal the Bronx, but we can heal Manhattan. We can heal, Maryland and DC. And that we're not strangers, but we're a united front on a national level. And that's what you're saying. And I really appreciate your words. So please send that flyer. If I'm back in the country, I would definitely come. Would love to be there. So I want to thank everyone. Thank the Rosarios. Thank always my dear sister, Dr. Madeline. You're very special. Just when you open your mouth, you bring such a resolve to our hearts. And Reverend Franklin, everyone, who has spoken and who is always coming. Without you, this program could not be. And it's your spirit also that helps lift this program and will take it to another level. And I want to thank you again, Marion Tiny Frampton, my dear brother. I want to thank you again for coming on. You were profound, and we will do something together. And we look forward to seeing you very soon. God bless you, everyone. And thank you always for coming on and sharing with us.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you all.
God bless you, Reverend Oliver. Great program.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Very hopeful.
Again.
Bring everyone together. Bring the school
Yes.
people together too. My goodness.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. I delivered a lot of babies in the South Bronx in the early 70s. So I remember walking through the streets. I wouldn't carry a purse or anything. And the streets are just, it was just kind of miserable. So I'm glad that there are people out there doing something that's beautiful. Yeah.
Maybe you deliver some of my kids. I don't know. I got 9
Yeah,
of them.
I know. It could be. I was at Bronx Lebanon Hospital.
Oh, beautiful.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for this program. Thank you.
Yeah,
Yeah,
thank you
thanks.
so much. Yeah.
Thank you. Safe travels to you, Reverend
Thank
Oliver.
you.
Oh, thank you.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay. God bless everyone. We'll see you next week. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank
Looking
you.
forward to it. Thank you so much, everybody. God bless you all.
God bless
God
you.
bless.